Welcome into Phil's Tax Hacks and Other Retirement Facts with CPA and personal financial specialist Phil Putney. Now let's get rolling with today's show. Time for another edition of Phil's Tax Hacks and Other Retirement Facts, and we're talking documents. Yay.
The paper,
Nobody likes this paperwork stuff, Phil, but we're going to try to keep this, somewhat concise and helpful. Basically, it's what financial documents to keep and where to keep them, how long, some stuff like that. It's not, not groundbreaking, super sexy stuff, but it is important, especially for some of these. So do yourself a favor, spend 10 minutes, 10 minutes or so with us and run through this and make sure you've got this checklist kind of taken care of. So Phil, we'll just dive in and get people rocking and rolling on this, whether it's a shoebox or a cabinet or a little fireproof safe or
banker
whatever
boxes and
whatever the case is. Let's talk about where you keep stuff, why you keep it, and how long maybe you should keep it. Get us rolling here with Paystubs. I guess we'll keep this one short and easy. Does anybody even get these anymore?
Anymore, most of them are all electronic. I mean, most companies today, by default, you're on direct deposit. In fact, a lot of companies won't even issue checks.
Right.
It's a burden, right, for them. And also for you, now you've got to take that physical check to the bank and get it deposited or, snap the picture and put it in your account.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit of a delay versus having direct deposit. It's all there. So
do you fill up your digital folder with a bunch of these? I mean, doesn't the W-2 kind of suffice at some point?
Yeah, you could. So a paycheck or the pay stub, the value there is that it shows you all the different types of pay you have as well as different deductions. Okay. So for instance, a lot of times we're working with clients that may get some kind of stock option. Well, the reality is as those are granted, they do become income and it shows up on the W-2, sure, but it's not called out separately, and we need to know specifically what those were for the tax basis on those. So that's one case where, we need those pay stubs because now I can see on the pay stub, well, your pay was this amount, but of that, here's the stock option.
Gotcha.
So there's many reasons to have pay stubs. And, I would say typically you don't need all the pay stubs for the entire year. If you have some special pays like that, it might be good to keep those, or at least keep the annual pay stub because that'll summarize what took place all year long.
Okay,
so,
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. And so obviously that walks us to the W-2s and the 1099s. As the CPA hat side of things,
yep.
What is it, 3 years or 7 years? Like, what's the deal there?
Well, so technically it's 3 years. So that's what they call the statute of limitations. They can go back and audit up to 3 years. That can get extended to 7 years if they try to prove or can prove what's called substantial, either under reporting of income or over reporting of expenses. So,
gotcha.
Therefore, I always just recommend 7 years. So keep 7 years worth of your tax returns as well as tax documents. So we mentioned W-2s and 1099s, but this would be really anything to support either the income and or the deductions that are on that return.
Okay.
So.
All right. Basic filing cabinet for that.
Yeah, 7 years. Just, filing cabinet. This does have financial information. So, make sure it's kind of locked up in a safe place somewhere you're comfortable with, not having that laying around in the desk. So,
all right. I've talked, again, with so many advisors, and they all have a funny story or two about somebody coming in when they're, kind of getting their items together, coming in for that first consultation or saying, here's my stuff. And I had somebody, say they brought them all their investment statements in a picnic basket, somebody else in a milk crate, so investment statements, like, do we really need to hang on monthly, quarterly? Like, is it worthwhile to hang on, or once the next one comes in, you kind of chuck the old one, or?
Yeah. So the investment statement is going to give you all the detail that took place that month. They aren't cumulative in showing that detail.
Okay.
Each investment statement generally has at the top kind of the summary to say, well, this is what happened this month.
Yeah.
In summary, here's year to date in summary, but the detail behind that isn't going to be in there.
Fundamentally, most people are probably digital on this now too.
Yeah. So a lot of these are going to be digital. So investment statements, I would say again, probably similar to the pay stub, keep the monthlies.
Yeah.
At the end of the year, if you're still keeping paper and you're trying to get rid of the paper, at least keep that annual one because that's going to give you at least a summary so that you'll know that, okay, if you're trying to trace down something specific, at least that happened in this year.
Yeah.
And you can maybe go back and trace down those statements.
Okay.
I mean, if you're keeping all this digitally, a lot of this becomes almost a moot point because, digital space is effectively free or very, very low cost.
Well, I guess it's whether you're doing cloud or you buying like a drive, an encrypted drive that you copy everything to.
Right.
Some people like to do that too, right? So
yeah, but even cloud storage, I mean, it's relatively inexpensive.
It is.
And you can store a lot of data.
Yeah. Some people just feel a little skeptical still about it. I think of certain age, they're kind of like, I don't do the cloud thing. But yeah, certainly digital is going to take up, or it's going to make a lot of that, some of that stuff we covered there, an easier way to go. These next couple of ones, though, Phil, I think these ones you still got to stick with the paper stuff in a lot of ways, and you want to definitely probably keep this in some fire safe stuff. Estate planning documents is next, right? So
so your estate planning documents, wills, trusts, durable medical power of attorney, all those type of documents.
Got to have the paper.
You have to have the paper. Now, you also want a digital copy as well, and again, I'd recommend maybe having some kind of a vault available. A digital vault where you can have those in.
So that's what I was saying before, like an encrypted vault or drive or something. Yeah.
Well, and the reason for that though is more oftentimes these kind of documents come up or are needed when you might not be at home, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So some medical event happens. Yeah. You and your spouse are out, some medical event happens, and one of you end up in the hospital. Well, they're going to want to know, do you have, the medical power of attorney to make those medical decisions for your spouse? Where do you say, well, hold on a second, let me run home and get it.
It's in the fire safe. Yeah.
It's in the fire safe, or it's in the, maybe it's in the bank deposit box, right?
Yeah, that's a good point too.
So it's not, you can't even get to it.
That's an older way of thinking as well that, served us for a long time, but safety deposit box may not be the best way to go anyway. Right. So, cause just for the access points, that's a good point there.
Yeah. So, and sometimes somebody will want the actual physical copy, to see the raised seal, so to speak, for the, the signatures and things like that. But oftentimes, again, in the day and age we live in, a digital copy is going to suffice.
Okay.
So having some way where you can easily get access to these documents remotely does definitely have some benefit. For our clients, we have a vault where they can upload things like that and they have access to it then remotely. So
okay. And that would probably hold true for insurance policy statements, which is next.
Yeah, insurance policy statements. I mean, you could keep them in there. Those aren't going to be something that you would need maybe in an emergency type scenario.
Sure, right.
I mean, in that quick of a situation.
But maybe having that paper copy in the fire safe.
Yes, yeah. So something like that, keeping it in the fire safe would be a good idea. Okay. And insurance policies, I mean, most of them are going to be it's for that specific period of time.
Yeah.
So with them, it's pretty easy to say. I mean, once it's matured, it's matured. It's if you haven't had the event during that time, then you're not going to get a claim. Now, the caveat there is going to be, well, if you had coverage, let's say with a different company 2 years ago, but now something has come up that can be tied back to an event or an accident that happened back during the time that you had coverage with a different company, then you might want to have. So again, with these, I would probably say keep them a little longer, maybe up to that 3-year time frame.
Okay.
Just in case there is some kind of an event that is kind of backdated, so to speak. It's in another year.
Yeah.
Even though that policy is matured, the coverage for the event can be tied back to that time that you had coverage. So
okay, that makes sense. Our keep forever category, Social Security cards and birth certificates, keep these forever. Definitely in the fire safe, fire box. I mean, can we go requisition a copy? God, what a pain in the butt that is, though. Yeah,
you can, but to your point, it's not fun. It's slow and painful to get.
Yeah.
Have those. You don't need them often, but there are still some times that you're going to need those documents. So
yeah.
So those are
someplace safe. Though, definitely
same with the estate planning documents. All these I would. You could even keep.
I'd lump them all together, right?
Yeah, that same fireproof box or safe or whatever it is that you keep your documents in.
Yeah, same thing for proof of marriage or divorce.
Yes. Yeah, and these are, oftentimes you don't think, well, that's not that important. Well, where they come into importance is going to be for Social Security, for one thing.
Yeah.
If you're filing for spousal benefits, well, they want to know, are you really married? Show me that marriage license, right? Or if you're divorced and you're trying to file for a divorced spousal benefit, well, then you have to have not only the marriage license, but now you have to have that divorce decree as well.
Yep.
so that they have proof that you did qualify for those benefits. So again, these are type of documents that you're not going to need very often, but when you need them, you need them.
Yeah.
And they're important and they're not easy to get if you don't have your own copy of them.
The Tax Smart Retiree is your comprehensive guide to mastering tax efficiency for a flourishing retirement. You will find indispensable advice and actionable strategies designed to enhance tax savings, maximize Social Security benefits, protect against market volatility, and develop a customized retirement plan. To get your free ebook, click the link in the show notes of today's episode and download your copy of the Tax Smart Retiree right now.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and that's like I said, that's the forever stuff. So hanging on to that. Let's transition here. I think we covered pretty much everything. Loan paperwork. I think most of us are good with that. Once it's paid off, you can kind of get rid of it. But in the filing cabinet, probably with the with the W-2s or the investment statements kind of thing, that might be fine there. Just again, clearly marked. But really, tips for disposing, that becomes an interesting conversation. I was thinking about this the other day, Phil. There was just a few years ago, you'd see like a truck pull up to various, I'm sure for businesses, they still do, but people could have a shredding truck come out to the house and shred. Yeah. I wonder if that's even, I'm sure for businesses it exists, but now you can buy a pretty good quality shredder yourself and just kind of do those things, Yeah,
you can. So, depending on the volume of documents you have, I would recommend it being a good like cross-cut shredder, something that shreds it up in pretty small pieces, not one that just shreds it into strips.
Burning it in the fire pit,
maybe. Burning it in a fire pit, depending on where you're at.
But I tell you what, paper is funny. If you put a big stack of paper that's all like, to get compressed, it
somewhere in that middle,
it will not burn through all of that. Yeah,
you got to make sure you stir it up and it gets in there to burn. So. Yeah,
for sure.
One thing we offer to our clients, and you mentioned, that shred truck, is we do an annual shredding event.
Oh, there you go.
So usually it's the end of May, 1st of June, somewhere in that time frame, we have a shred day where we'll bring out a shred truck, and then have all our clients bring any of their documents they're trying to get rid of. And these documents are anything that has your social, that personal identifying information on it that you don't want to just throw away.
Yeah.
Because in the day and age of identity theft, it doesn't take much of that type of information for somebody to capture your identity and cause a lot of problems. So,
and I think there's some, for the digital side, I think there's some different programs to kind of help ensure that it has been erased properly. Yes. Obviously, like I've got 7 or 8 hard drives sitting on a shelf around the corner from older dead computers that I just haven't properly disposed of, because we all wonder, like, what is that? Because we see all the time that these forensic people can pull off all kinds of interesting data from what you perceive to be a dead unit. So you hear things like drill a hole in them and then pour some acid, all these different kinds of things. So I know there are companies that do offer disposal of drives, and you can all certainly investigate that as well.
Right. Yeah, the digital side of it definitely brings in a whole nother aspect. So
so do a little research, make sure you're doing the proper storage and disposal of the things that you need to do. Hopefully this video helped you. We went a little bit longer than 10 minutes, but not much, so thanks for hanging out with us as we talk about maybe not the flashiest of subjects, but certainly one that can be important, especially in this day and age of data theft and whatnot. So make sure you're dotting your I's, crossing your T's, and if you need some help, maybe you want to come out to the shred party with Phil that Phil's talking about.
That's right.
Reach out to him and let him know for sure. Yeah. Get yourself some time on the calendar, have a conversation. philstaxhacks.com. That's philstaxhacks.com. Reach out to him today. And don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, and right here on YouTube for future episodes when they come out. And share the podcast with those that might enjoy and benefit some of the stuff we try to share along the way. Thanks for your time. We'll see you next time here on the show.
Phil? Investment advisory services offered through AFS Wealth Management. The content of this program is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. Investments and/or investment strategies involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. There is no assurance that any investment strategy will achieve its objectives.